So what do you do when you've had an overload of pears this fall? Well, I'll tell you what you do. You make pear preserves, you make pear butter, you make a pear cake, you make pies. And today we're going to be making pear mincemeat. And I'm here to tell you there's no meat in this mincemeat. And it's an old recipe that I got from my cousin Julie, who lives down in Texas. This recipe was passed down to her. Now she's passing it down to me. And she makes a lot of this during Thanksgiving and Christmas because she makes a lot of cakes and breads and stuff like that with her pear mincemeat. So I was really happy when she let me have her recipe. It's a really easy process, and I'm here to tell y'all, I'm not prejudiced, but this is the best it's the best mincemeat I've ever ate. Because I've never really cared for any kind of mincemeat, but this stuff is good. So, that's what we're doing today. And there's not a whole lot of ingredients, but what's in here makes it absolutely delicious. So let's get started. My cousin Julie, me, my sister Stephanie, and my cousin Nancy, and my cousin Jonna. These are very important women to me. I love them very much. Okay, we're going to go over the ingredients for the pear mincemeat. Of course, you need your pears, and I've got about, about 9 pounds here is what I've got. And once you get it, peeled and ground up, you're going to need about 8 quarts after it's ground up. And I've got cloves. Need 2 apples, 2 lemons, and you're going to grind your lemons and your oranges up just like you're doing your pears, and you're going to grind them up with the peel and all. So you want to wash them good. These lemons are organic. The oranges aren't. I scrubbed them really good. So when you grind them up, you're going to use peeling and all, but you want to get the seeds out. So you got your cloves, your 2 lemons, your 2 oranges, 2 apples, and I will be peeling them in just a minute and cutting them up. You need 2 pounds of raisins, a cup of grape juice. You're going to need about 7 pounds of sugar, and you're going to need some vinegar, and I've got cinnamon, and you're going to need a small can of pineapples, and I'm just going to use my pineapples that I've had canned since I think it was it's been several months ago. I think it was before summertime, or maybe back in the spring when I canned these. I got a bunch of pineapples on sale, so I'm going to be using those. So that's your ingredients for the pear mincemeat. So we're going to get started. I'm going to use food processor. Now if you've got a hand grinder, that works good too. So let's get started. So I've got most of my pears ground up. You need to make sure if you're using a food processor that you check your bowl, make sure you ain't got it too full. Sometimes I overload it. It does I've got my grater disc on there. That's what I'm using. Now I'm going to put my apples in here. Get them grated up good. And I checked my bowl while ago, make sure it wasn't getting too full. Because I always I always get my bowls Lori full, I guarantee you. So we got that done. Go on to the next step. Now I'm just going to dump all my pears and my grated apples in here. Make sure you get a big enough bowl to get all this stuff in there. Okay, now we're going to grate up our oranges and our lemons. I tell you, the food processor just makes things so much easier. And like I said, if you had a food grinder, it would grind it up, your fruit up really good, but I've never bought one yet. I see them all the time at the flea markets, and I haven't bought one yet. I guess because I have several food processors that are pretty much, I've got a really big commercial size meat grinder, but that thing's huge. I don't get it out unless we're doing a bunch of meat, so this is doing all that I need it to do. Okay, let's get our oranges and our lemons in this bowl. That's why I like a big bowl or a big dish pan like this, because you can get all your ingredients in there and you have an easy time mixing it up. Okay, we're going to get our pineapples grated. Now, if you have crushed pineapples, and I didn't have any, because if I need crushed pineapples, I just put mine in the blender like I'm doing now. Just use your crushed pineapples. You don't have to run them through the blender. They're already crushed. So that's an easy way. Okay, we're going to get our pineapples in here. It's getting full. Okay, we got a bunch of raisins to grind up now. Now, I took my grater disc off and I put my blade back in there. It's a double blade, a dual blade. And that's how I'm going to grate up my raisins. It'll get them chopped up pretty good. Now, if you hear your blender kind of bogging down, you know you need to turn it off. Okay, they're grated up pretty good. They're minced up really good. There might be a few that didn't get minced up real good, but it'll be okay. We're just going to put them in here with our other stuff. And it's almost ready to be stirred up. Now we're going to finish up our mincemeat here. And it calls for 1 cup of vinegar. So I'm going to use just my regular distilled vinegar. And a cup of grape juice. I'm using Welch's 100% grape juice. 1 cup. And then we got our spices. Well, let's go ahead and put our sugar in. I got 7 cups of sugar. We're going to put in, let's see, a tablespoon of cinnamon. Whole tablespoon. We're going to put in a whole tablespoon of allspice. And we're going to put in a tablespoon of cloves, ground cloves. It smells good, don't it? And now we're going to mix this stuff up. I'm glad I got a big bowl like this for stuff like this. This is the bowl I use when I make my chicken and dressing most of the time. So just get this. You see the raisins are wanting to kind of clump up, so get them unclumped. Get all this mixture good mixed up. Now you got to find a pot big enough to cook this in because you're going to put it on the stove and you're going to cook it for about an hour. I'm telling you, that smells good. Between the lemons, the oranges, and all them spices, the pears. So I know this is going to make a really good Christmas cake. Christmas bread. It's going to be delicious. So after we cook this down for about an hour, we're going to can it. So it'll be shelf stable and you'll have it. So anytime you want to make you a cake or anything like that, you'll have it. Now Julie told me that I think she doubles or maybe even triples this recipe when she does it. And that's a lot of pears now. So I think that's mixed up pretty good. I'm going to find me a big pot and we'll be back in a second. Okay guys, I'm going to use 2 pots. And I've already tasted of this and this stuff is really, really good. So I'm excited. So I'm going to get these up to a low boil and I'm going to keep them stirred and I'm going to cook them down to, well, for about an hour. Then we'll be back. Okay, it's been an hour and they're cooked down good and now we're going to get them canned up. Okay, I got my hot jars out. My mincemeat's still really hot. And now we're going to fill our jars up. And, of course, we're going to water bath can these. I'm going to leave about an inch headspace. I got my lids in warm water. You know, whether if you're going to can them in pint or quarts, I'm going to process them for 20 minutes. That's just, I just feel better at 20 minutes. My jars always seal good, and that's just what I feel comfortable with. So now I like putting this in pints because Julie's cake recipe calls for a pint of mincemeat, pear mincemeat. Her bread recipe, her pumpkin bread that she puts this mincemeat in, calls for a pint. So to me it just makes sense to put them in pints. Now I don't know how much I'm going to get yet till I get both pots. Because this is my first pot I'll have to do. And I still got another pot full. But it's just going to be so nice to have this canned up in the pantry on the shelf. Where I can go in there and grab me a jar and make me a mincemeat pie or a cake or just whatever. So it's a good thing. Okay. Of course, I didn't have the camera on while I was debubbling everything, so I realized it was off. And now we're going to take some vinegar on my paper towel and we're going to wipe the rims really good. Because even though I use the funnel, somehow or another, I'll get that sticky stuff all over these jars. I don't understand it. So you want to make sure that, especially the very top, is very clean so that your lids seal really good. It makes a really pretty presentation in your jar too. And you can give these away as gifts. It'd be a good gift to give to somebody with the cake recipe or the pumpkin bread recipe with it. So I'm going to try to get all these clean and get them all in the canner. Now, I tasted it again. You know, I tasted it once before I put it on the stove, and it was just delicious. And then I had to taste it again once it had cooked for an hour, and it's just, The stuff is awesome. I can't say enough about it. I mean, I could just eat it with a spoon. And I'm thinking that this would be, I told Mr. Brown it'd be delicious, warmed up and poured over some vanilla ice cream. Now, I've not ate a cake or the bread or even a pie made out of this pear mincemeat, but I'm really, really looking forward to it. Julie says that the whole family just loves this stuff. So I am planning on doing a cookbook, and it's going to take me a while. It's probably going to take me a whole year to get it done. And I'm going to have this recipe in there as one of my family recipes. Now, I will have down the description box, I will have down there the recipe for the mincemeat. And when December gets here, we're going to make the cake and the pumpkin bread. Okay, they're in the canner. Countdown 20 minutes. There's about 2 inches of water over them. Here it is, guys. It made 9 pints and 2 quarts. I ran out of quart jars, so pint jars, so I'd use my quarts. Y'all get your pear mincemeat ready for those recipes. If y'all like this recipe, please give me a thumbs up. And y'all come back and see me. God bless.